can't make a conspiracy like that work because people won't keep their mouths shut. And I think that's the same thing when we talk about Natalee Holloway. The idea that Beth was on a plane and heading down before Natalee disappeared, people roll that out because they want to believe something different. Whether they want to... When I was down in Aruba, I had anywhere from taxi drivers to cops, Aruban cops, that would tell me, we know absolutely that Natalee and her mother didn't get along together, so what really happened is that the Kalpoe brothers and Joran van der Sloot, actually, Natalee came to them and said, please smuggle me off this island because my mother was so oppressive to me that all they did was help her escape an oppressive mother. And there were people who swore that was the absolute truth, although there was nothing to back it up whatsoever.
Absolutely, just utter crap. You look at van der Sloot in this recent confession and other confessions. This case has been so on again, off again, right from day one with the evidence and the arrest and the release. It's like a bad fishing show with catch and release. We all hope and we hold back hope that someday a case like this will go to court. I've always said that justice is served many different ways, and justice can be served best by bringing Natalee home. But in your professional opinion, Clinton, as someone in law enforcement for a long time, do you ever see this case with Aruba being Aruba coming to fruition, actually going to court?
I don't, I guess, Dana. I just don't. Number one, from day 2 or 3 at least, when I got down there and started looking around and went up to the lighthouse and took the path she allegedly went and talked to the people there, I pretty much came to the opinion that she was probably a victim of homicide or an accidental death. Now, let me draw that line. I think the line is that she could witnesses have suggested, yes, she was there. She was dancing at Carlos and Charlie's, where I've been many a time, and that she was drinking like a fish, way too much for somebody her age and her physical shape, that she was allowing guys to do shots out of her navel up in the bar. All of that is probably true. All of that is probably true. She probably was a young girl. She was sowing her wild oats. She was dancing. She was drinking. Then I think what happened is that somebody slipped her a Rufinol. Somebody slipped her a date rape drug. And I think the combination of the booze that she ingested on her own with the possibility of a date rape drug allowed somebody to take her out of that bar and take her away. Then what I think in my scenario happened was that there was an attempt of some type of physical assault, and the combination of the physical force that was exerted on her, the alcohol and the Rufinol or whatever it was, that combination, I think her body just expired. And then whoever was with her, who I still, I have a hard time believing it was somebody other than a combination of the 3 primary suspects, then they said, oh my God, this girl has died, what are we going to do? They reached out perhaps to somebody else who had a boat. They took that girl out about a mile, they dropped her in the water, and you get off that island about a mile and you're in the water, and the currents catch you, and the next spot you're going to wind up, if the sharks don't get you, is the Panama Canal. So the idea of sending Dutch F-16s flying over the island and looking for bodies and having search dogs digging in the sand around the lighthouse, it's an island. Where are you going to put a body? You're not going to plant it in the sand. You're going to take it out to sea. So if that scenario has any basis of potential fact in it whatsoever, I don't think we're ever going to see Natalee's body found if she either died or was a victim of a homicide and her body disposed of. And as, van der Sloot's father was alleged to have said one time, no body, no case. And in Aruba, even if one of the 3 primary suspects would actually come forward and say, okay, I can't take it, it's just too much pressure on me, I have to tell the truth, his story in and of itself would not get him a pass. He would have to, whoever would confess to this in a conspiracy would be eligible for the same type of trial and or penalties. And these guys have told so many stories so many different times. Again, as the judge said in this last undercover case by the media, where van der Sloot allegedly spoke about his part in her disappearance, they've lied so many times we can't believe it. So, Dana, I find it hard for me to believe that the law enforcement there now, number one, wants to solve the case, number two, is capable of solving it, and number three, that there is enough evidence for proof beyond a reasonable doubt to allow the case to be either indicted and or prosecuted and have a conviction over it. I just don't see that happening.
And I think you said it best when you said even in Aruba, or only in Aruba, you can confess to murder and not be tried. It's it's unbelievable. You know, the red flags that all popped up and the outrage, not only from the family but from everyone that watched it. The undercover sting operation on Vandersloot, the Peter DeVries television show, and I interviewed Peter on this program, and you and I are aware of what we call jailhouse confessions, or wiring up an informant to go in and get the goods on someone, and the admissibility of those sorts of cases in North America, and seeing this whole undercover sting being brought out on television. Did that hurt it by coming out on TV before it went to the prosecutor, or was there just no way this was going to go anywhere anyway?
You know, there was an old TV show years ago. In fact, it's a movie coming out as a movie now. It's called Get Smart.
Yeah,
the lead character was Maxwell Smart, kind of a quacky CIA-like operative. But it was kind of a fun show. And I remember one scene in that always was the cone of silence.
Yep.
Would want to talk amongst themselves, and they would bring down this plastic dome so that nobody else could hear them, but then they couldn't hear themselves talk either, and the thing never worked. So my career as an investigator, in the FBI, you always wanted a cone of silence as far as the media is concerned. It's like, let us go out and work the case, let us gather the evidence, let us lock the witnesses in without being tampered or contaminated by the media, and we can make this case go, perhaps. But, I guess I would have liked to have seen that operation done perhaps in concert with the Dutch authorities, Dutch police, with the Aruban police, or something. I mean, I would have rather seen it done, the way it was done than not done at all. But that didn't seem to facilitate, to move the investigation on any whatsoever. It just gave it a more circus-like atmosphere. And the problem with this circus is that somebody is likely to have died, and nobody's going to be held responsible for it, at least in the courts, maybe in a court of public opinion. But again, in Aruba, the last thing I knew of, the Cowpole brothers are still down there. They go to Carlos and Charlie's. They're hanging around. Life hasn't changed much, and it's the country. Aruba has moved on. American tourists go down there now. They go to Carlos and Charlie's like it's a tourist spot to see where Natalee's last night was, and move on again. So it's amazing that, here 3 years later, we've got 18-year-olds going there now who were 14 or 15 at least when that happened, who may not even know this story, and go down, and now they are potential victims of something similar to that too. Those type of activities go on. I remember being down in the Aruba and talking both to Aruban investigators who I thought, were trying to do something and just their hands were tied, and private investigators from America who were down there who said, it's kind of SOP down here for some of these kids, some of the Aruban kids that are there. They said they hang out in the bars. The Americans come into bars. They pick up the girls. They slip them, roof and all. They take them out. They become a victim of some type of physical or sexual assault. The girls go to the police. They complain. The police say, your plane's leaving tomorrow morning. You probably ought to get on the plane. Just count this as a lesson learned.
Yep.
You lived. And then this happens over and over again, and every day and every week, a new plane and a new ship of nice, fresh victims show up again.
Yep. Yeah, and that's so true, and certainly the government of Aruba has not done anything to help that situation, and I've said it many times, Natalee Holloway is in a much better place right now, and it certainly isn't the island of Aruba. Clint, thank you. Stay safe, and hopefully the weather will just blow by you.
Thanks, Dana.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's Dr. Clint Van Zandt, former FBI agent, current security specialist, and correspondent on MSNBC. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with another Holloway investigator. He's a former Secret Service agent, Art Wood. And then a little bit later on, we know him as Jossie Banzer, the managing editor of Diario. You're listening to the Dana Pretzer Show here on Scared Monkeys